All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the miracle method that only 10 doctors in the world know about. I am so happy that you're here. I want to welcome you, and this is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So I want to get started here because I believe that vast potential lays dormant in every human being. And the conversation that we're about to have is actually one of the most important conversations of all time. And it is people like you who take the time, who show up to participate in conversations like this that are really and truly the leaders of a great movement that's going to bring more healing and more kindness and more love into the world. And it really starts with you and with your presence. So wherever you are, be all there. This great quote by Jim Elliot. And I want to invite you to get the most out of it. And here's how you can do that today, not only with your presence, but by being super receptive. So you can even be like a little silly with it. I am super receptive, super receptive. You can yell it out, even if there's people in the other room and they're looking at you kind of weird. I am super receptive, because energy flows more easily when you allow it to. When you're softer, when you're more receptive. And this simple little phrase will help you stay present and focused and to get everything, to really absorb everything that you can in the training today. Now, beyond that, couple other things that will really help to keep the energy flowing. Sit up straight. Boy, I tell you, it's so easy to slouch in front of the computer, or just really get into that kind of lazy posture, and that creates a lot of extra tension in the body. So sit up straight. Let your spine be tall. Uncross your arms and your legs so that the channels aren't crossed up. Turn your palms facing up. I am super receptive. We're going to come back to that some more too. And then breathe. Of course, breathe. Nice deep breaths, so that you can be fully present. Have some water available, right? When energy is moving, one of the things that happens is we get dehydrated. So keep yourself hydrated. And then, most importantly, participate. Ask questions. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what you're wondering about, because it is a conversation. This is a conversation that we can have unfold together for everybody's highest good. So let's test out that Q&A box, and go ahead and find the Q&A box. And when you click on it, you should see up in the corner, it might say ask. And then if you click the ask button, you can type in a question, and there you go. And go ahead and type I am super receptive, and type that right into the question box and send it through. And that'll make sure that everybody's Q&A box is working as well. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to take a sip of water before we get started here. All right. Looks like it's working. Yes, Marlene is super receptive. Welcome, Camille. I just saw you pop on. Go ahead and find the Q&A box. Anne is super receptive. Henry is super receptive. That is awesome. All right, it's working. I love it when technology works. Quick introduction. My name is Nick Hansinger. And ever since I was a little kid, I'd get these terrible migraine headaches, the kind where like all I could do was lay in bed and with the lights out and have a pillow over my head and just kind of wait it out until it was gone. And that could be a few hours or it could be a few days. And sometimes I would go for months where just the slightest things would set off another headache, and I'd be exhausted and I'd be irritable, and I didn't have energy to do the things that I loved. And it was even hard for me to be around other people sometimes. And every time I thought I had it figured out, every time I thought I knew all the triggers that I needed to avoid, and every time they'd come back again. And oftentimes they'd get worse and worse. And doctors didn't have any answers for me. They would just give me pills, which made me sick, and so I didn't want to take them. And I tried all sorts of diet changes and yoga and meditation and herbs, and just nothing changed. And it seemed like some things would work for a little bit, and then I'd just be back where I started. And by the time I was well in my 30s, this was just a way of life for me. And I didn't believe that there was anything I could do about it. And then I had an experience where I was at an event and I met an energy healer. And I was having a horrible headache at the time. really like to the point of feeling nauseous. And she did a quick session on me and my headache was gone, like 5 minutes. And that was the moment that for me, something really clicked in my brain. And I understood that we actually can heal ourselves. Now, like I had heard that that was possible, and part of me kind of wanted to believe that, but I'd never experienced it before that day. And the woman I mentioned is the founder of Energy Mastery. So we formed a relationship. I knew right away, I got to know what she knows. And I get it. Compared to what other people are going through, chronic migraines are nothing. I totally get it. And I totally respect for that. And I really empathize. The reason that I do this is not only because it was something that created such a transformation in my life, but I also watched my grandmother die from Alzheimer's, and there was nothing I could do nothing I could do. I watched my mom's own health decline because she was caregiver to that grandmother and my other grandmother and my great grandmother over a 10-year period. And little by little, her health just got worse and worse, and there was nothing I could do about it. I didn't have any answers. And that's what I want to help people change. And that's why we're here. And maybe you've got something going on with your own health. Maybe someone in your life is struggling without any answers and you want to help them. Maybe you're feeling pretty awesome and you just want to keep it that way for a really long time. The great part about working with energy is that it applies to anything and everything that you want to do. When you know how to work with energy, you can solve any challenge that comes your way. It is literally the everything answer. And we're going to break that down today in some different ways. So I'm super excited because vibrant health is the foundation of a happy life. It all starts there. Without vibrant health, you can't enjoy the amazing people, things, and experiences in your life. And ultimately, it holds people back from doing what they're really here to do, from really fully fulfilling their mission and their purpose in life. Like Nicole, she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, pretty severe. She went to a ton of specialists, got misdiagnosed a bunch of times. And even after she had her diagnosis, nobody was really able to help her. So she went out of that system and then into the alternative healing methods. And she tried everything that you could think of, diets and body code and emotion code and meditation techniques and law of attraction and hypnotherapy, and the list goes on. And she was really in a dark place and starting to just become resigned to living a limited life, where she would spend a lot of her time in pain or worried that she was going to have another episode. And tons of doctors, tons and tons of money, no solutions. So she shows up to one of our classes, and after a few months, so she goes through the class, and after a few months, she's using the tools daily. Her pain is almost entirely gone, and she's getting back to a normal life. She's finally pursuing her dream of having a healing practice of her own, which you can imagine. She's been through that. She knows how hard that is. She really just wants to be able to help people, but she knows she has to solve that for herself, and she's finally doing that. And she's also able to use it for her family. So everybody in her house is happier and healthier. Kids don't get sick. She's feeling awesome. And that's why we do what we do. And I want to invite you to imagine where you could be a year from now if you had the tools and technologies to truly heal yourself. How would it feel for you to never have to worry about getting sick, going to another doctor? What if you had twice the amount of energy and the focus to use it productively? Who would you help? What would you accomplish? And anybody can do this. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is take action. This is the most important thing that we're talking about today. You do not have a blank problem, you have an energy problem. I could literally insert just about any challenge in there. You have finances, anxiety and depression, relationships. Today, we're talking specifically about health. You do not have a health problem, you actually have an energy problem. This is exactly what we're going to break down today, because once you really understand this simple and incredibly profound concept, you know that you can actually heal yourself and others just by understanding how to work with energy. That's what we're here to do. You can go ahead and find your Q&A box and type a Y for yes in the Q&A box if that sounds good to you. Awesome. Okay, great. Glad we're on the same page. Because Americans spend, on average, $9,523 per person a year on medical expenses. not understanding how to work with energy, not understanding how to heal yourself, that is what it's costing. $9,523 per person a year on average. And I want to look at that number for a second and really consider that, because think about it. If you could just write a check every year for $9,523 and be absolutely guaranteed to never get sick, to have all the energy that you'd ever need to achieve your goals, and to be able to get rid of stress and anxiety in your life, would that be worth it to you? Would you write that check? You can go ahead and type a Y for yes in the question box. Or no, if you wouldn't. Personally, for me, my health is worth it. It drives everything in my life. I would gladly write that check. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and that is not the results that people are getting. So here's what's actually happening. What the numbers are telling us is that since 2017, people are paying anywhere from 7 to 38% more for healthcare. So they're already paying that amount, and it's on the rise. It has been on the rise for many years. We've outpaced spending compared to just about every other developed nation. And there's alternative healthcare as well. So I definitely want to talk about that, because Americans spend $30.2 billion a year on alternative and complementary medicines and procedures. So about half of that is spent on practitioners like acupuncturists and homeopaths and naturopaths and healing specialists and hypnotists and all those kinds of things. That's about $14.7 billion. And then about the other half is spent on supplements, $12.8 billion industry. And again, that would be awesome if everybody were happy and healthy. However, compared to Japan, people in the US are 4 times more likely to die of a heart disease. Compared to Norway, people in the US are 38% more to die of a digestive disease. Those are big numbers, and it's not a new problem. This report showed that not a lot has changed in 15 years. In comparison to adults in 10 other countries, adults in the US are sicker and more economically disadvantaged. And it's because the orthodox and complementary medicines are fragmented systems. They don't know how to work together. And they actually can work together in a beautiful way so that each finds their place. And I'll give you a hint, what the common denominator is, has to do with energy, right? You're in the right place because you have the codes for perfect health locked inside of your DNA. And if you wonder, well, why do people, struggle then so much? And we're definitely going to talk about that and why those things stay dormant, right? That potential, that healing potential stays dormant. Because at Energy Mastery, we believe that everyone can be able to live a healthy and a vibrant life and be totally independent of any system, to really take the power into your hands. Because 55% of Americans are regularly taking a prescription medicine. 55%. And of those people, 53% get them from more than one healthcare provider. And that's important because that actually increases the risk of adverse drug reactions. Speaking of which, 443,900 deaths from prescription medication in 2015. And that was actually a 20% increase from 2014 to 2015. Now, we can break that down in some different ways, but the most important number here is 40,000. 40,000 deaths were attributed to an adverse reaction to a drug that was properly prescribed and properly taken. 40,000. And you might be thinking also, well, that's just the heavy prescriptions, like over-the-counter drugs don't do that. Well, actually, each year more than 100,000 patients are hospitalized from GI complications for over-the-counter medications. 100,000 people every year. And that has a real world cost. Every time they go in for a complication like that, it can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $8,500. This is shocking. So every year, 648,000 people in the US develop infections during a hospital stay. And 75,000 people die. That's more than twice the number of people who die in car crashes. And every year, at least 2 million people become infected with bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. And another 23,000 people die as a result of those infections. So we're going in the wrong direction here. And then there are unnecessary surgeries. This is an example. In a 2011 study in the Journal of American Medical Association, they reviewed records for 112,000 patients who had what's called an implantable cardioverter defibrillator. It's basically a pacemaker-like device that corrects heartbeat irregularities. In 22.5% of the cases, researchers found no medical evidence to support installing the devices. That is over 25,000 cases, 25,000 unnecessary surgeries. And it's not like I'm not saying that doctors are bad people. I'm not here to say they all swore an oath to do no harm. Yet a systematic review of physician suicide shows that the suicide rate among physicians is more than double that of the general population. Because think about it, most of them have crushing debt from their education and from opening up their practice. They deal with the trauma of life and death situations on a daily basis. Stress in that industry is seen as a weakness. And they are all working within a bloated and confusing system that puts them at risk every day. So you can see, just by setting foot in that system, you put yourself at risk. And it could be dangerous drugs, it could be infections, it could be unnecessary procedures, or just the negligence of an overstressed medical professional. That's why it's so important to take back control of your health and freedom. I would go so far as to say that the best long-term investment that you could ever make is to get the tools to manage your health independently, so you're not reliant on a system. And anything that makes you more reliant is ultimately a waste of time, money, effort, and energy and resources. I know if you're here, you have a dream to have perfect health, to make a positive impact in the world, and maybe even help some other people along the way. And that's what we're doing here. So this is designed for two people. Number one, if you're currently having a health challenge or having challenges with your energy being consistent, you're going to have a clear understanding of why other systems have failed and what you can do about it. And for those who are already feeling good and want to be sure that you stay healthy for a long time to come, you're going to discover a simple system to optimize your health and mindset so that you never have to rely on anyone else for your care. The only way to resolve health challenges and maintain perfect health is by working at an energetic level. It's because everything is energy. Energy is what underpins and permeates every level of our lives. Therefore, the fastest and most effective way to solve any problem is to go to the root and solve the energy underlying it. The only way to do that is through the energy mastery system, because there are obviously many layers and complexities. And energy mastery is a system that works on all of them: physical, mental, emotional, relational, financial, and spiritual. And the key word here is system, because everything's energy, right? So you need an integrated system to work on every layer of your body and your being and your life. This is not, what we're talking about is not a hodgepodge of different modalities that are just all kind of blended together. It is actually an integrated system that is designed to create rapid and lasting results. For those of you that came on late, just really quickly, my name's Nick Hansinger. I'm the president of Energy Mastery. I've been studying peak performance and mindset and personal development for over 20 years. And in case you can't tell, my favorite thing in the world is helping people achieve their full potential and live more happy and healthy and prosperous lives and connect with their mission and their purpose. We've brought these teachings and tools into business leadership and team building. We've worked with big organizations like Habitat for Humanity and long-term care resources and Quicken Loans and Hyundai and many, many others. And I am actually just so passionate about getting this out to the world and into the hands of people who can use it every day. A healthy world is a happy world. And I don't want to spend any more time talking about myself. This really isn't about me at all. I'm a vehicle for these teachings. It's my joy, my honor to be a part of this. So I want to tell you a story, though, about the founder, because this is really what happened and how this came to be. Siobhan Moran actually healed herself from a horrible sepsis when the doctors told her she had literally hours to live. And I will tell you that story another time. But after she did that, she thought, well, if I can do that, maybe I should take a class and really learn some basics and better understand what's going on here. So she did that, and a short time later, she's climbing Mount Everest, and one of her traveling companions has a massive stroke. And doctors couldn't get to them, and there was literally no one else but her with any knowledge about healing. So she had two options: let this woman die or use what she had to the best of her ability. So she starts working on this lady's energy, and she didn't stop for 8 hours. It took 8 hours, and 8 hours later, finally help arrived, and they get everybody off the mountain. They get the lady to the hospital. They start running their tests. The doctors were shocked. They could see on the scans what had happened and how serious the stroke was, but what they couldn't understand is, number one, how she was still alive, and number two, how far along in her healing process she was. And that was the moment that Siobhan knew that she had to create a system for this healing and to get it out into the world. Because she thought, wow, if I can do that after just one simple beginner class, imagine the impact that could have on every single person's life. And eventually that became the Energy Mastery System. And our Foundations course teaches a ton more than she learned in that first class. It teaches a complete system. And what we're covering today is number one, how to heal from anything without dangerous drugs or doctors or gurus or expensive prescriptions or specialists, or the list goes on. The first and most important thing to understand in this section is that disease exists in the energy before it manifests in the physical body. So one of the things that Western medicine is awesome at is diagnostics. If you've got something going on and you want to know what that thing is, Western medicine will definitely help you put a label in it. Now, the trouble with that is that it needs to be manifested in the body before they can do anything about it. And by the time that happens, you're already looking at thousands of dollars in medical expenses and any number of complications that we just talked about. It could be side effects from drugs, it could be unnecessary surgery, it could be all kinds of things. The truth of the matter is that disease exists in the energy before it manifests in the physical body. It looks something like this. And how it works is that every thought and energy that you are exposed to has the potential to create something. So if you want to do a little experiment with me, sit up straight and clap your hands, rub them together. And that's just kind of waking up the palms. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your left hand and you're going to whisper into your left hand, frustration, frustration, frustration. Then just close your eyes and hold your hand there. And notice what you sense or perceive or feel. And then use your right hand and type in the box. What word would you use to describe that? Let's see. Heavy, dense, cold, heavy, pain in my wrist, yeah, a lot of like heavies, a lot of those going on. Negative, yeah, sure, that's a good word for it. Okay, good, great, simple enough, right? Now, clap your hands. That just kind of cleans that up, gets it off your hands, and then we're going to take the same hand, left hand, and whisper joy, 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 joy in your left hand, and hold it there and close your eyes and notice what you feel. And then use your other hand and type a word or two to describe that. Light, tingly, fuzzy, soft, fluffy, light, a coolness. You can see how different they are, right? So go ahead and clap your hands just to kind of clean that up. But what this little experiment is showing us is that thoughts and words have a specific tone to the energy. And all you have to do is slow down just a little bit and you can actually discern that. And that's important because this is something that we are exposed to every day because everything is energy. Facebook is a great example of this. You can scroll down your feed, like don't do that now, obviously, but when you do that, you will see everything from puppies and kittens to political drama to fear to anxiety to trauma and anger and inspiration and everything in between. It's just chaos. And every single one of those posts and comments has an energetic tone to it. And that's just the start. Over 300 hours of content are uploaded to YouTube every minute. Every day, over 205 billion emails are sent. And then there's the media, news, radio, TV shows. This is more unfiltered information in a day than our grandparents were exposed to in a lifetime. And every thought, every piece of that has a specific energy to it, like we just experienced. And it has an ability to create something. So if you're consuming it, you have the potential of taking that on. And this is what it looks like. This is the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto. He studied this for years. This is how thoughts and words look when they crystallize in water. And you can see the differences. And the average adult is 57 to 60% water. That's a lot of water. So it's a simple question of, well, what do you want the water in your body to look like? And then contrast that with what we're exposed to through media, what we choose to consume. Facebook, all the things that we're bombarded with every day. Maybe it's the people you work with. It's staggering. It's no wonder that most people wind up looking like this. And without the right tools, it can take hours just to kind of clean that up so that you can maintain your current energy. Or what many people do who are sensitive to that, they wind up being really restrictive in their lives. They wind up hiding out in the background because it's just too much. And that's no way to live. Another way of looking at it is through a Kirlian camera. So when somebody's energy is dirty and congested, it looks like that. Kind of a low vibe. You can see the chakras there. They're only showing 7 of the chakras, which is a really limited system, but you get the idea. They're uneven and they're congested. Yet this is the same person after about a 20-minute session. Now, if you met that person on the street 20 minutes before and then like this, that's a very different human. It's a radically different human. And you can bet that that person's having a very different experience of the world. Clean, clear, sharp perception, right? And you might be thinking, okay, well, how does it help with physical injuries? And this one still blows my mind. Carol, she works with children with disabilities. And she had went to one of our advanced courses. And then after that, she was teaching a class and one of her kids had an outburst and bit her super hard. So the picture on the left there is right after it happened. And this had actually happened to another teacher not too long before that. So everybody's freaking out. You got to go to the hospital. It's going to take a long time to heal. The other teacher apparently had some nerve damage. So they're worried about that. There's going to be horrible bruising. Carol plays it cool. No, thanks. I've got this. And she starts using the energy mastery system. Now that top right image, that's about an hour later. And the middle one is before she went to bed that night. And that bottom right image is 24 hours later. 24 hours, she's completely healed, no bruising, no nothing. And you might be thinking that, maybe your situation is really complex or it's just so bad that, energy healing is not really going to help or it's just not going to be enough. And, that's what Amy was thinking too. She was diagnosed with ADHD. She had high levels of anxiety. She had struggled with this in her life for 20 years. 20 years. She had a son with schizophrenia, and there were these really destructive patterns running. So one of the things that she knew, which is amazing, is she knew that she had to work on herself. And she'd actually been doing that for 20 years. And it's a long list: landmark education, muscle testing, retreats, meditation retreats, and healers and psychics, and years of therapy. I mean, we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, and time and again, the same destructive patterns would play out. And she'd make a little progress, and then everything would fall apart. And it came to a head when her son had an episode, and there was a physical altercation, and she wound up with a broken arm. So she happens along to the founder, Siobhan Moran, and she decided to give it one last try. So she gets to work, and within a few hours, she was able to take the sling off her broken arm because the pain was gone, and it healed in record time. And more importantly, her anxiety was gone, and she was able to sleep the night through for the first time in years. And she said, what I was able to accomplish in one session was more than I accomplished in 20 years. And I want to invite you, the reason I share this is because I want to invite you to put yourself in her shoes for a moment. It's like years of chaos and anxiety in her life. She's got a broken bone and 20 years trying everything she could. Tons of money out the door, and she didn't give up. And there were a million reasons for her to become cynical and to resign herself, but she didn't. She stayed open and available for her solution to show up. And that's exactly what happened. So that's why we started today. I am super receptive. I am super receptive, right? That will allow your solution to show up. So how you can heal anything without drugs and doctors and expensive treatments and all of these things is by working on the energy first, because the energy is the root level of any challenge. And once that's solved, the body's able to heal exponentially faster. Great. So how do you do that? And that's what I'm going to share with you, the healing codes. These foundational principles follow a universal law. They are the exact reason why Energy Mastery gets results where so many other systems do not, and why those results last. There is a specific sequence which must be honored in order for healing to be effective. It's a unique formula that you are designed with, and when you're using the right technology, your innate healing mechanism kicks into gear. It's kind of like a kid who gets cut and they heal really quickly. They're very resilient, okay? So when healing is done out of sequence, it takes up to 100 times as long to heal. A great example of this is if you get a cut and that cut's dirty and then you put a Band-Aid on it. Okay, well, that Band-Aid is not a bad idea, except it was done out of sequence. So instead of providing a protective shield there, it actually trapped all of the dirt in. And now it's the problem, and it will cause that wound to fester, which can actually be really, really serious. That's one example. Energy healing works the same way. The body has different needs based on a specific condition. And that's why we've spent so many hours and years compiling data to develop a powerful and efficient healing system. That exact reason is why people tend to get worse before they get better. They call it, I heard this term, a healing crisis. I'm having a healing crisis. And I just kind of cringe when I hear it because it plays directly into the myth that healing has to be hard and take a long time. This is not the case. Now, the other part of this is what the mind accepts, the life and the body adopts. And what this is referring to is your mental programming, the belief structure. Disease exists in the energy before it manifests in the physical body. And this has been scientifically proven. They've shown that cancer exists in the energy up to 20 years before it actually manifests in the physical body. It's the decisions, conscious and subconscious, to accept that energy, which allows it to adapt itself into the physical body. So the mind plays a critical role in healing. Absolutely critical. Because the energy is 100% your creation. And until you solve the mental and emotional patterns behind that problem, the mind will find a way to recreate it. So you can do all the energy healing that you want and fluff it up and make it look all beautiful and bright and shiny. And if the mind is not addressed, it will recreate the problem in some other variation. The cool part about that is that if you created it, you can uncreate it. And that's why no healing system is complete if it doesn't significantly address the mental programs and belief structure. However, if you only focus on the mind and don't solve the energy first, again, the healing will take up to 100 times as long because the challenge already exists in the energy. So that part needs to be cleaned up. And then when the mind and the energy are resolved in conjunction with one another, that's how you create a complete healing, a full resolution, and a lasting result. The mind is kind of like a computer program. It's like having a virus on your computer. One tiny little program can shut the whole thing down on your computer. And one limiting belief or program can shift your entire perspective on life and sabotage success in many areas. So I wanted to go through a few of these just to kind of highlight where the gaps lie. When we talk about therapy, this is a broad section, but therapy and mindset, traditional counseling, things like that. You're talking through everything like a talk therapy and going back into the past. So rather than allowing the mind to release old patterns, it actually creates a deeper entanglement. That's why this method takes so long. We've had so many people tell us like, oh, like you just put my therapist out of business, right? Because this is the piece that it just gets more and more entangled. Because it doesn't actually solve the energetic challenges. And if you're having physiological challenges, definitely not going to solve that. So it's really only working on one piece, and it's working on it in an antiquated way. Prescription drugs we've talked about before, essentially what happens is they mask the symptoms, which compounds the problems. And then it can further compound them with unintended side effects. Right? Then that's just for starters. Herbs and supplements. Most of them have suspect ingredients. So you have to be extremely mindful about what you're choosing to put in your body and where that comes from, because it's largely unregulated. They're only really going to address the physical body. The energy is still going to have the same challenges. Then the mental patterns and programs at the root of it are not addressed in the least. And it's like other drugs where one leads to another, and before you know it, you're taking a ton of pills just to maintain. And the good ones are understandably expensive and they're not covered, right? And I remember this one lady we worked with, she was on dozens of supplements, so many supplements, because her body was super sensitive to all these kinds of things. And after her energy was cleaned up, all those sensitivities went away and she was down to just a few supplements. And then you've got meditation, very good for relaxation. There's a ton, like a million different kinds of meditation techniques. Most of them are relaxation exercises at the best. Many of them actually tend to repress thoughts and emotions and bottle them up. So you see this really interesting pattern where meditators will have these bouts of like frustration and anger, and it's like super confusing. There are very few meditation techniques that are based on actual healing energetic principles, and even fewer that honor the true purpose of meditation, which actually has nothing to do with relaxation at all. So as far as healing, it can help with some stress and anxiety and some relaxation and things like that. But as far as a full healing, it's just missing too many pieces. And then you've got energy healing, like the woo-woo stuff, including but not limited to that entire list there. All of these bring something to the table. They all solve one aspect of the energy to some degree or another. If you have a skilled practitioner, you will get some results. When it comes to rapid and complete and lasting solution, they fall short for some common reasons. They're out of sequence, essentially putting the Band-Aid on a dirty wound in many cases. They're missing key components. So they work with the energy, but they don't work with the mind, or vice versa. Many of these are ancient teachings, and over time they've become watered down. They've lost their relevancy in our modern world, so they don't speak the same language that we speak, and it got mistranslated along the way. And as a result of that, they got overcomplicated and totally impractical for daily life. And one of the most common questions I get is like, wait, like what is this energy mastery? Is it like Reiki? Like what is that? The short answer to that is no, it's actually radically different. Energy mastery is a more advanced technology. We've actually taught many Reiki masters, and this is something that has changed the way that they think about healing. And the best example is Sherry. She attended a New York training and she wrote this. She has, I have to admit that I was uncertain about the methodology at first. She was so great. Like she's just really like direct New Yorker, which I really appreciated about her. After reflecting on it, it makes total sense. I thought it was going to be another Reiki knockoff, which I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently that's a thing. And I couldn't have been more wrong. Energy Mastery is a postgraduate level course I didn't even know was possible. It's a radically different technology. And what it is an integrated system. So it's no touch. You can work on people in the same room or halfway across the world and achieve the same results. What happens is you systematically cleanse the different layers of the energy so that the physical body can do what it was designed to do. And then you go and identify and resolve the mental patterns and programs that created the challenge in the first place. So restoring health is just the beginning. What it actually does is optimize your potential and gives you the energy and the focus to create your life as you want it to be, because everything's energy. Your life is layers of energy. Being a master of that is the most important thing you could ever do. And I want you to meet Dr. Prudvi. He's amazing. He works in ER and ICU. He got into healing because he wanted to help people. And he was trained in the Western medicine system, so he's super skeptical. They trained him not to trust anything other than Western medicine, but he did want to learn this energy mastery thing, so he kind of did it on the sly. He didn't talk about it to his colleagues or anything like that. It was just sort of something he wanted to do for himself. And he noticed that people were showing up in his ER and ICU with the same problems again and again and again. And he had this client come in one day and she was having kidney failure yet again. And he decided to try the energy mastery system. So he does a session on her, and after one session, her kidneys started working again. Now, as an experiment, because remember, he's a scientist, he started to use the techniques on his most challenging cases. And what he found was that he was able to cut their time in trauma and ER down significantly. And that's important because I don't know if you realize, but one night in the ICU can cost up to $5,000. So that's a real world impact. Now, right now, he's definitely the healthiest doctor in the hospital. He can take way more patients than anybody else. He doesn't come home exhausted, so he has more time with his family, which is super uncommon in that profession. And everybody's happy and healthy, and he's able to help more people. And he's so convinced that this is the next evolution of healthcare, he's actually training people in these methods. Dr. Prudvi is amazing. I hope you get to meet him one day. That brings us to number 2, unlocking the innate healing gifts that are within you so that you never have to visit another doctor again. So the codes for healing are actually already there. They're uniquely locked within your DNA. And a systematic process is what's needed to unlock those codes. Once they're unlocked, you become completely independent and free. I haven't been to a doctor in at least 7 years or taken any kind of medication. Siobhan hasn't been to a doctor in 20 years. Anybody who knows how to heal themselves can do exactly the same thing. So information overload is actually one of the things that keeps people super stuck. There's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of times there's conflicting views, and then there's a lot more things that just don't work. So people get stuck in information. And if you really want the fastest track to perfect health, you need a system to follow, because figuring it out for yourself could take years. And if you have a challenge right now, you do not have years to figure it out. And think about all the amazing things that you'd be doing with your time if you weren't spending it all learning a bunch of information that isn't actually helping. And we're going to actually talk about that a little bit more. First, it's using a mastery system to unlock the codes. The mastery system will help you to unlock that more rapidly because you have a tried and true system that actually works. And you might have heard some of this before. This is Dr. Ann. She's a scientist. She had studied many, many modalities. She's a very gifted healer. She had done energy medicine and Reiki and tapping and crystals and all kinds of things. And so she's wondering, well, what is this energy mastery? What is it that I don't already know? But the challenge that she was having was that she was feeling fatigued from the clients that she was working with, and she had a few that she was just stuck with and moving them forward. So she came to an advanced training and she took all the tools back into her practice. And what she discovered was that with the Energy Mastery System, she was able to move her own clients forward much more quickly. And she was able to work on herself much more efficiently so that she could actually continue to grow her practice and help more people. Now, did she already know a lot? Heck yes. She knew a lot, and there were still missing pieces. And it's like a puzzle. It doesn't take much. If you're missing even a piece or two, it just doesn't look right. And if you say you know something and you don't have the results, then you actually don't know it. Okay? It's kind of like a Rubik's Cube. So when we talk about unlocking the system, think about like a Rubik's Cube. People who've mastered a Rubik's Cube, they know the system, right? So no matter what condition they get that cube in, they can solve it in seconds because they know it. A human being is a heck of a lot more complicated than a Rubik's Cube. Same principle actually applies. It's the keys to unlock the door. And here is how people get stuck in that. People get stuck and struggle in their healing for some pretty common reasons. If you're here right now, there's a very good chance that you've tried some other things, and one of three things has occurred. Whatever you tried probably worked for others, it just didn't work for you. You got some results, but you only got so far, or you got stuck in a certain area, and then it stopped working. Or you didn't follow through because it took too long, it was too complicated, or life got in the way. So let's go through these piece by piece. It didn't work for you. Okay. It happens. It took Edison thousands of tries to create a working light bulb. And even after that, there was a lot of room for improvement. This is not your fault. The fact that you're still searching is evidence that there is a solution for you. I am super receptive, right? Because you didn't land here by accident. The healing codes that we discussed in the section before should help you understand why this may have happened. It worked a little. You got so far, but then it stopped. You may have felt disappointed, disillusioned. It may have even made you doubt yourself. And that's totally understandable. Now, many people use this as an excuse to become skeptical. And it's that exact skepticism that prevents people from moving forward in a positive direction when the right opportunity does present itself. And I don't know if you know this, but skepticism is actually scientifically proven to harden the arteries. So not only does it clutter your head and make it hard to make clear decisions, there's actual consequences to your physical health. And regardless of all of that, you did not come this far just to quit. Now, number 3, you didn't follow through because it took too long, it was too complicated, or life got in the way. This one's kind of sticky because it's really easy to get into self-blame and criticism. But in reality, most people are working way too hard to get substandard results. And it's no wonder they're way working against the grain, and they have a hard time following through and staying on track. It's like a Pandora's box in a certain way. It's either, the methodologies are either too complicated and they take too long, or they're oversimplified and they don't work. But what if there was another way? What if you could take great care of your energy and your mindset in about 15 minutes a day? Is that something that you would do? 15 minutes a day. I think it's worth it. Now, if you've ever gotten stuck and confused and just stopped, or felt not supported, or nowhere to turn to answers for that you can trust, right? You've probably relating to this image right here. The people in our lives oftentimes just don't understand what we're going through. They might not support it because the energy healing is like way outside the mainstream, and it can leave you feeling alone and misunderstood. I know I've felt that way. And community is actually one of the most important aspects of continued growth. And I had a student once who struggled like her whole life with severe anxiety and depression. She was actually diagnosed with bipolar. So she did a bunch of different modalities. She did all these different trainings and different modalities before she got to us. And every time it was the same story. She'd go to a training, she'd get really excited and hyped up. She'd feel awesome for a week or maybe 2, and then she'd crash. And she would crash hard. So by the time she was feeling well enough to start back up, she forgot everything. She forgot everything that she learned. So she finally winds up with Energy Mastery. She didn't crash after the training, but what did happen is some really great things started to shift in her life, and she got super busy. So she did kind of lose touch with some of the tools and the processes that she learned. What was different this time is that she had a community that was there for her. So she was able to step back in without missing a beat and get right back on track. And that's exciting. That's a really important part because we do have lives. And there are limiting beliefs that people adopt around healing. These are the three biggest ones that I've seen many people struggle with. Whether they're trying to be successful with healing or self-healing in particular, right? I'm not good enough. I must be doing it wrong. Maybe I just need to try harder. Because think about it. Well, that's what we're taught about success. If you're not successful, you just need to try harder. And actually, energy works the opposite. The harder you try, the less effective you are. I'm not talented enough. You might be thinking, I don't have any special gifts for talents for healing. I know I thought this. Many people think that if they're not clairvoyant or super sensitive to energy, that they can't be effective at this work. Everybody has the codes for healing. It's built into the DNA. You think about that Rubik's Cube, just unlocking it. And I've even had people ask me, this is one of my favorites, they're like, well, if energy mastery is so advanced, like, shouldn't I start with something simpler, warm up to it? No, advanced does not mean complicated. That's one of the biggest misunderstandings with healing and healing processes, is that if it's not super complicated, that it can't possibly work. We've taught so many people with absolutely no experience in healing. It's kind of like a car. The machinery is enormously complex, not unlike your human body is enormously complex. But with proper instruction, anybody can learn how to drive a car. It really is not that difficult. Limiting beliefs. I'm not smart enough. This one's the worst. Nobody likes to feel stupid. We flash right back to like middle school. Well, maybe that's just me, middle school. Some people might go back a little further, but oh my gosh, I remember feeling that way, and it's the worst feeling. So if you're struggling to make a change and it's not working, we go right back to that. You got it wrong, you're bad, you don't know enough, right? And what that does, that not knowing enough, it sets off a whole chain of events, because then you go on a quest for more information. So you scour the internet, and you learn everything that you can, you read every book that you can put your hands on. And this creates a significant problem. It's called information overload. We mentioned this before, but I want to talk about it a little bit more, because this is one of the biggest reasons people get stuck. It's conflicting messages, things that are flat out wrong. And the only way to know for sure is to waste a bunch of time experimenting. And all of that information clutters up your head and creates more and more confusion. Confusion saps a huge amount of energy, because what's happening is the brain is working on overload to try and process all that information. So that has some very serious consequences. Number one, it's very difficult to make clear choices. So that confusion will literally compromise every area of life. If you want a happy life, a productive life that's really aligned with your path and purpose, you have to be able to make clear decisions quickly. And then we're adding more and more information in. It's like placing the Band-Aid on a wound that hasn't been cleaned out. The wound will fester. And that's what most people do. They learn a new technique, they learn a new thing, they throw it on the pile. And they put it right on top of all the old stuff, and they try to figure out how it all sorts together, and then they can't figure out why it's not working or why they're working so hard. And I wonder, what if you could empty your brain of all of that unnecessary information, everything that isn't serving you, all the clutter and all the chatter that keeps you up at night? What if your mind could be crystal clear, open, receptive, quiet? What would you accomplish with a clear mind? And that brings us to secret number 3, the secret link between your money and your health. This one is one of my favorites. It's really exciting. a really exciting part of the conversation. There is a secret link between your money and your health. Most people have no idea that this link even exists. If you have a money challenge, you will have a health challenge. And if you have a health challenge, you'll have a money challenge. It works both ways. Why? Money is energy and energy is money. Now, this is really common. This is a common understanding. However, many people that are familiar with this concept, yet there's a lot more to the story. And what people don't realize is that there's actually a container for wealth in your body. And it's directly related to your physical vitality. So the money and the health are deeply intertwined. And we're going to look at this on a few layers. The emotional layer and how stress and anxiety play into this problem, and then as well the mental layer and the beliefs that keep people stuck. Because if you want to fully resolve your health challenge, money must be a part of the solution. Must be a part of the solution. So first is emotions. It turns out that biochemical reactions to your thoughts and feelings, they occur not just in the brain, but simultaneously in virtually every system of your body. So emotions like fear and anxiety and anger and guilt, frustration and resentment, they're more acidic, and it reduces the function of your immune system. This is why stress is known to be the leading cause of heart disease and diabetes and headaches and depression and anxiety and all sorts of other things. It's the same reason 55% of the population is medicated. Now, just one of the ways that money is related to your health is anxiety. 85% of people feel financial anxiety. And 28% said they worry about their finances every day. And 36% of those people said their stress about financial issues has increased rather than decreased over the past 3 years. So we already know that up to 90% of doctor visits are stress related. So it's necessary to, number one, is shift your emotions and your beliefs around money. Shift the energy around money. So there is so much stress around money that people adopt these misperceptions and limiting beliefs. One of the common ones is money's dirty, right? You think about your bank account, and you think in terms of how much money you don't have, or if you're going to have enough. And these energies build up and they create patterns of avoiding money, avoiding touching money even, or even wanting money. So remember this, when those negative thoughts build up, what you're actually doing is filling your money container with a bunch of mud. And in order to have prosperity, you need a clean container for wealth, as well as an ability for that energy to flow freely. Does that make sense? Now, another huge stressor for people is balance. Balance in life seems impossible. The speed of life has increased exponentially over the past few decades. There never seems to be a moment to pause or catch your breath, to really feel like you've got your feet on the ground. And it's exhausting trying to be everything to everyone. And sometimes it's hard to even take a break because then things pile up and then there's more stress about falling behind. Right? So people wind up exhausted. They don't sleep well. Then they reach for, because they take all of that stress with them to bed at night. So they're not sleeping well, and then they get depleted and they reach for artificial stimulants just to keep going. So what's happening is they're running an energy deficit. And over time, physical health actually breaks down because the body doesn't have the necessary resources. And that's another way that contributes to that, because there's seems to people that there's just no way for them to have it all. So people tend to go one of two ways. People who have generated success and wealth, they either exhaust themselves trying to keep it, or they get sick because of what they had to sacrifice to get there. So something breaks. Or people who make health and happiness a priority, they don't make the income that they want, and they feel limited in what they can accomplish in the world. And there's another way. I think we'd all agree that prosperity comes in many forms. So great health is just another expression of that. And how do we create this for ourselves? Billionaires of today, like Elon Musk and Warren Buffett, Richard Branson, Mark Zuckerberg, every one of them attributes the work that they did to break free from old habits and attitudes, along with internal mental breakthroughs to succeed or break boundaries. This is why the mental component is absolutely critical to healing and lasting success. And that's how it ties into money. And this is one of my favorite stories. Laura is an executive coach. She worked in Silicon Valley. Still works in Silicon Valley, as a matter of fact. She works with a lot of high-profile businesses and executives, so names that you would definitely recognize. She had a career doing what she loved. She already had that piece nailed down. She's doing what she loved. She's actually doing really well on it. But her health was starting to deteriorate. Not a lot, just little things. That energy deficit. So she's starting to feel fatigued a lot. And then all these little things go wrong. So she's back in the doctor's office for this or for that or the next thing, just a little bit of deterioration. And when we started working with her, all sorts of things started to come out. So she's doing okay financially, but she wasn't making nearly what she should be based on the results that she was getting. And you can see why then her health was starting to decline. So the first thing that we did was we straightened out her finances. So she starts charging more appropriate fees, and she even received shares in some of the companies she worked for, because what was happening is that she's not charging appropriately for the value that she's delivering, and that actually became a drain on her energy. So she's taking the hit because it's draining that wealth container in the body, which is directly related to physical vitality. So she's undercharging and over-delivering. Her energy is taking a hit. So as soon as that piece got sorted out, all of her health stuff started to clean up. And then the real magic started to happen. So she had this deep family secret, and the truth is that her mother was a paranoid schizophrenic, and essentially Laura had raised her brothers and sisters. So she continued to work on herself because she was getting results, and it was really exciting. But what happened was that her mom's mental health actually started to improve. And eventually her mom was able to get off meds and live a normal life. And we could have never predicted that. But what it highlights is that we are so linked in such incredible ways. Nobody was working on her mother. She was only working on herself. What's really exciting is that when you solve challenges in your own DNA, it can actually affect the people around you, especially family. But certainly if you're responsible for a team, if you have people that are under you, if you're leading and part of a movement, all of those things, and certainly your clients, if you happen to do that kind of thing. Now, another shift for greater prosperity is understanding the law of compensation. This is the golden rule of life and business. So if you're in lack in something in your life, you actually don't have a money problem. You have a numbers problem. There is no real lack. The only lack is in knowing where to get it or where to allow it into your life. So awareness is the number one thing. I am super receptive, right? Now, one of the biggest ways that people break this law is by expecting something for nothing and feeling good when they get something without paying for it. This is actually violating the law of compensation. If you want more for yourself and you're willing to take something free, but what it actually does is create more friction. And when you think like this, you're actually depleting your own energy, and it impacts your physical and your mental, your emotional, and your financial energy. Every time you aren't willing to pay your way, you're actually keeping yourself in a lack mindset, and then you'll have more lack in your life. And every time you look for bargains, you can ensure that people will bargain with you and expect you to provide things for free. So the golden flow is really getting into the golden flow is super important. One of the first steps to that, we already covered one of them. I am super receptive. I am super receptive. Another one is to sit up straight and to relax your shoulders. Maybe place a hand on your low belly just so that you breathe low. Place the tip of the tongue at the roof of the mouth and finish an exhale. And then inhale, belly, midsection, chest, and then hold, and then exhale. And then hold at the bottom. And then inhale low, middle, high, hold, and then exhale high, middle, low. And then inhale, low, middle, high, pause, and then exhale, high, middle, low. The pause is where the magic is. And if you did that along with me, I'll bet you're already feeling more clear, more present. You'll find that worries start to diminish. And when you're present is when you have the opportunity to be super receptive. You don't get to be super receptive in the future or the past. You can only be super receptive right now. So that's the first step of getting into the golden flow. It's perfect for health and finances and just about everything else in your life. And I want to share a story. Sunny is so amazing. She'd been wanting to come to one of our trainings for 2 years and she kept putting it off. And she lives in the UK and money was tight because she had a new business and it's an expensive trip. And she wasn't feeling too good about leaving her daughter. So after almost 2 years of waiting, she finally said yes. And immediately she got a new client in her business that covered all of her travel expenses and tuition. The misunderstanding is that you have to wait until you're ready. And it's not about being ready at all. It's actually about being willing to step in for you and your greater good. And then it shows up. Because you could wait a whole lifetime waiting to feel ready. But when you're willing and you back it up with action, that's when the magic happens. That's when the path unfolds. A lot of times people want to see the whole path before they take a step, and that's not the way it works. So to review, how you heal anything without drugs and doctors and expensive treatments and all those other things that we talked about is by working on the energy first. You have to resolve the energy because everything is energy. This is what makes the healing process go exponentially faster. And this is why it's important to honor the healing codes. Now, number 2 is unlocking the innate gifts that are within you so that you never have to visit another doctor again. You need a system in order to do that. That's the way to do that. Otherwise, it's just too complicated and you're reinventing the wheel. And number 3, the number 1 limiting belief, right? The link between your money and your health is so critical to make sure that those are in sync and that each is being addressed and honored. Okay? Because you don't have a health problem, you have an energy problem. Your health may be suffering, your energy may be depleted, right? And that's where the problem lies. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to solve with the right system. And that's what people are paying. National average is $9,523 per year. I don't know if you know how much you're currently paying. Could be doctor visits, could be healers, it could be supplements, it could be trainings, right? But if you don't have the health that you want, the vitality that you want, the energy that you want, the focus that you want, that number is just the hard cost. It doesn't include time off work. It doesn't include time away from family. It doesn't include time spent searching for a solution or time wasted being distracted or procrastinating or whatever else it is. That's just the hard cost. What's your number? And a better question, and a much more important question is, if you were living up to your fullest potential, what would you be doing in your life? And what would that be worth to you? Now, obviously, it's impossible for me to teach the complete system in a training like this. There are a few reasons. First, it's deep work. It's really deep work. Every individual is unique. Like the Rubik's Cube that we talked about, there are nuances to every person's healing process and how that system applies in their life. So without a personal interaction, there's no way to ensure that you're integrating the information and its knowledge and the skills to use it effectively. What I just shared were the building blocks of the proprietary system. Most people who get to this point, they want to know, like, how can I learn? Like, how can I go deeper with this? If it's okay with you, I put together something really special for those of you who are here and who want to know and learn the complete system. If that's okay with you, go ahead and type a Y in the question box. It's only going to take a few minutes, but people are interested because they want to see, well, how is this even put together? Or like, what do you actually learn in this? Or how does it work? How do you set it up for success? So I hope that's okay with you. Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Great, because we really, to only teach the complete system in person, it's deep work. It's very important to us that every single person who learns it walks away with the ability to apply it in their lives immediately for any challenge that comes their way, and to bring you into the inner circle of our community to really ensure that you have the support and the guidance that's needed to make sure that you don't fail or get lost along the way to your ultimate success. And that's why we spent years refining the system and how it's taught. And I'm really excited to invite you to one of our 2-day trainings. I'm even more excited because until recently, the only way to learn this system was a $10,000 core training. And that training still exists. We still put people through it. It's incredibly deep, but we wanted to create something that anybody could do. So the goal of Energy Mastery Foundations is to put the most powerful system for healing in your hands so that you can unlock your healing capabilities, and also to provide healing systems to solve and prevent any health challenge for the rest of your life. The classes are taught in small groups, and it's highly committed people. They're ready to make a massive shift in their lives. They're amazing people, and they're willing to do the work, right? They're my favorite kind of people. The days are packed. So they're full days for sure over the 2-day training. But you learn in a step-by-step fashion. So it's actually fully integrated every step of the way. What I mean by that is that you learn a step of it, you learn a tool, and then you practice it, and then you experience it. So you're working and interacting in a small group. The time actually, guys, goes by really fast. But the reason that we do it that way is because then you walk away fully prepared to put it into practice in your life immediately. It's not like just an information dump and then you get back home and you're like, well, wait, like, what do I do with this? No, you've already had practical experience. And you receive massive healing while you're going through the process of learning, which is a really nice bonus. And the other nice part about that is that you're actually qualified to work on others. So you can use it on your friends or your family if you choose to do that. If you have a healing or coaching practice already, you can start using it right away. This is what you learn. Day 1, first thing, foundations of healing. It's principles of self-recovery and life force. We covered some of this on this training today. So we covered some layers to that. We get to some much deeper layers of that to really unpack that and understand how these work in your life and how to have more access to the energy that we need to sustain ourselves. Energetic anatomy is next. So there's a structure to the energetic physiology. It's not just there's not just one aura. There's actually multiple layers of that. We call it a strata, actually is a more appropriate word. And every one of those layers serves a specific purpose. There's a lot more than 7 chakras that most people are familiar with. There are many other layers that we cover as well. So we go through step by step and show what each piece does and how to resolve it, more importantly. Then simple techniques to accurately diagnose the condition of the energy. This was really important for me because I'm not particularly talented. Like I can't see energy or those kinds of things. So I needed a simple way to be able to diagnose, well, what's actually going on with the energy? And so that's what we teach everybody, is how to simply diagnose what's going on. So you're actually working on the right things. Very simple. Anybody can learn it. If I can do this, anybody can do this. And then we learn step-by-step applications for correcting imbalances that are associated with pain and stress and all these other physical ailments that you see. These are the healing protocols or recipes that we've spent decades developing and refining to be as simple and effective as possible. They cover everything from abdominal discomfort to sinus challenges to migraine headaches to menstrual challenges to insomnia and anxiety and much, much more. So it's a specific protocols that you're given all the recipes. And of course, you need to be able to do this for yourself. And it does not take a long time, about the time it takes you to brush your teeth. A little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your level of facility with it, but anybody can do this in about the time it takes to brush their teeth in a very short amount of time. And that's really important because think about all the things that we pick up every day. Well, we need a really efficient way, number 1, to make sure that we clean ourselves out in the morning so we meet our day fresh and clear and focused. And number 2 is that before we go to bed at night, we go to bed without all of that stuff because you do not want to be sleeping with that. Then we go to day 2, and day 2 is super exciting because that's where we dive into mental and emotional clarity. This is a really interesting day. We dive into these patterns in a very unique way. So if you've ever caught yourself in like a negative cycle, procrastinating, or just not doing something that you know you need to do, or getting overwhelmed with a lot of responsibilities, it can be incapacitating. And this tool teaches you how to make an instant shift so that you can get out of that negative emotion or circumstances without losing a ton of time. We call it the magic box. It's truly magical. This is a technique that's super powerful for keeping you on track towards your highest and most important goals. And it uses words in a specific formula to resolve the mental and emotional pattern that's running. However, that being said, it is 100% not like hypnosis or NLP or affirmations or anything like that. It's actually much faster, it's more simple, and it goes right to the root, which is the energy behind that thought or emotion. It's really and truly magical. And then we take that a layer deeper, and I call it hacking the belief matrix. That's my name for it. I don't know what Siobhan calls that, but the Sanskrit word for it is called paramitas. And it's about getting to the other shore. So the negative programs and limiting beliefs at the subconscious level that cause people to just repeat frustrating patterns and stay stuck at a certain level of success. This process, paramitas, is how you solve that. It's a deep process, and you identify the actual problem and then resolve it without spending years in therapy or dredging up decades old trauma and making a mess in your life. It's a very elegant and simple and graceful process to resolve those things. Really and truly amazing. If you haven't figured out by now, we're a success oriented. So paramitas, getting to the other shore, you're where you're at right now. There's somewhere you want to be. That process helps you get there in much less time and in a way that is not disruptive to your life. Some people get really beat up trying to get to their goals, and that's not helpful. So prosperity mindset is certainly something that we talk about. It's really how to find true alignment between your health and your money. And a really important piece is actually your soul and that soul calling, and how to create that alignment for yourself. It opens up the doors for greater prosperity for sure, but it also really aligns you with your natural gifts and talents and lets those things shine. It's something that you can't learn anywhere else. There's no other system that teaches this in a really integrated way. So we have a 2-day live training, and you can go to energymastery.com/apply, and you'll see a short application form there. It'll walk you through some of the steps. Fill it out as completely as you can, but don't obsess about getting the right answers. We just want to know a little bit about you so that we can get on the phone and really talk it through. It's for you if you're actively looking for a solution rather than just a bunch more information. It's for you if you want to solve the problems of not having consistent energy, health, clarity, and success in your life. And it's for you who want to be truly independent and free from ailments and illnesses, and you who are ready and willing to invest in yourself and who will do the work. Another thing that we include is our home study course. It's called Secret Energy of Miracles. It's a really amazing little course and does so many cool things because it's incredibly practical. So we want you to have this because we want you to get started right away, to start making shifts in your life right now, so that you can start to gain positive momentum. And by the time you show up to the 2-day training, you're really in a great flow by then. This is an 8-module training, and it teaches you how to increase focus and clarity. Really importantly, it teaches you how to tell when you're about to go off track or make a huge mistake, and how to correct that immediately. And it talks a lot about the laws of prosperity and how to clean up old money stories and anxiety and things like that. There's a ton of other things. All of it's really practical, really actionable. It's designed to create miracles in your life. And in order to do that, you have to be active and present in your life. So they're all tools that you can integrate on a daily basis into everything that you do. So some of it will give you the foundations of what you learn in the 2-day, and then in the 2-day, you go way, way deeper with it. Super cool program. And then, of course, I've talked about this, but we want you to be part of our community support system. This is incredibly important. Many people walk away and they get worried, right? What if I don't remember everything just right? It's okay. Most important thing to us is that you take the tools and technologies and you learn them and use them in your life. I've seen way too many people who learn a little bit, they feel good, and then they stop. And that happens in other places, but that does not happen here. We want to keep you on track. We have an amazing community of teachers and graduates, and you're invited to be a part of that after you graduate from the 2-day. So there's an online forum, and you can ask a question 24 hours a day. We do fun challenges every month, so it keeps everybody engaged, sharing, and really learning deeper layers of the tools so that you can continue to utilize that in different ways in your life. And then twice a month, I do office hours. So that's for personalized support. And essentially, we do it on Zoom, and all you do is dial in and or log in, and I'm there for you. And you can ask me any question you want, and then I'll give you guidance to your next step. So it's a real personalized support. There are some promotional materials. We have a membership site. And if you wanted to share your talents and promote yourself a little bit, there's some promotional tools in there to support you. So you get the 2-day live foundations training, you get our home study course, and you receive our community support system. Other people have paid $10,000 to learn these exact same techniques. And it has actually changed their lives in immeasurable ways. I'm one of those people. And even those who have invested at that high level, they've more than earned their investment back in terms of income and time and health and happiness. You're definitely not going to pay that. It is a premium training, and it does come at a premium price, but not nearly that, and you'll pay less than $2,000 for it. So all you have to do is apply. You might be thinking, okay, sounds really good, but I've just tried so many things, and I'm just not sure, I don't want to wind up back where I started. And that's not you. Maybe that's happened in the past. I understand it. I've been there myself. I have put so much money into my education, and I know how frustrating it can be to put your hope and your faith in something. And stay receptive. I am super receptive, because that's the only way that past is going to continue to be the past, and you can start writing a new story. And the beauty of energy mastery is it's the only thing you'll ever need. Once you learn this, it can never be taken away from you. And it will serve you and your loved ones for a long time. So where are the 2-day trainings? We have them all over the country. San Clemente is our home base. We have trainers in Phoenix. We have trainers in Detroit. As a matter of fact, there's a training happening this weekend in Detroit, in Royal Oak, Michigan, actually, which is just outside of Detroit. But we also have people in Chicago and Tampa and New York. And all you have to do is fill out the form, energymastery.com/apply, and we will go through that with you and find the best training for you. Maybe you don't live directly, near one of those areas, and you might be thinking, I don't know how I'm going to travel. I know travel can be a challenge, right? So one of our students, Nicola, she's from Australia, and she's got a super busy life. She's got kids in school. She has a business of her own. Her husband runs a family business. There's never a good time for her to be away. But she knew that this was the only place that she could learn it and really have the system for herself to keep herself and her family happy and healthy. And so she came all the way from Australia for a 2-day class, and she got so much out of it that she's coming back in July for our 4-day core training with the founder. So there's always a way. Stay super receptive and apply. energymastery.com/apply. When you enroll, we'll get you set up in the home study course immediately, and you'll get started right away tonight if you want to. And that's really the last question. What would you do with pristine health and vitality? What would you do with more energy and the focus to really put it to the best use possible? What will you do with your increased wealth and prosperity to really find more freedom in your life? And what will you do with your unique gifts and talents? How will you serve? Who will you help? How many people? Be really aligned with your highest path and your purpose, and share your innate gifts and talents. That's why we're here. And I'll open it up for questions. If you have any questions at all, please type them in the Q&A chat. What are the times of the events? So the events are, typically the events are 9:30 a.m. till about 6 or 6:30 p.m. So the days are long. Like I said, they go by really quickly. You do require pretty much the whole day. You want to block out the whole day for yourself. If you're traveling in from out of town, you definitely want to come in the day before. You could get out the night of if you really wanted to. It's not my personal recommendation, but we've had people do it because they didn't have any other choice, and it's totally workable to grab a late flight out or get on the road late. So yeah, about 9:30 in the morning until around 6 in the evening. Is a copy of this presentation that you can share with us online? Unfortunately, no, we don't make the presentation available for download. One of the reasons we don't offer recordings either is these live trainings are just something really special about them. You know, we get to interact, we get to play with energy together, and there's that energetic exchange. I'm already doing so many other things. How do I know where this fits? Well, that's a great question. Number one is, this is designed to be a comprehensive all-in-one system. So it actually doesn't need to fit into anything else. And if you're interested in really helping every area of your life move along much easier, it doesn't mean that you can't do some things that are already working for you. It just means that this is something that's going to help all of those things work better. It helps if you're, yeah, it looks like you're already in traditional treatment. Like, can I do this alongside that? Yeah, you totally can. It'll help your body heal faster from some of the difficult challenges that you can run into through some of the Western healing processes. We've had a lot of people work in conjunction with their traditional treatment, and their doctors are always shocked at how quickly they get better. They really love it because they get to just kind of see, like, oh, this is amazing. And they don't understand it. I've not seen too many doctors that actually get it. But they do say, whatever you're doing, keep doing that. So that's always good news. No, it's not mutually exclusive. It'll help everything else that you're doing work better. That's all. Any other questions? For any of you that missed it at the very beginning, there's a Q&A box, and you click the Q&A, and then I think up in the upper right corner, there's a ask button. You click the ask button, you can write your question in there. Excuse me. Any other questions? Well, I think we've actually exhausted the questions here. So energymastery.com/apply is where you get your name in, and what'll happen is I'll reach out to you right away via text, and we'll simply have a conversation. We'll talk through all the details. If we need to, identify a payment plan, we'll do that and make sure that you get set up and going along right away, like really get in the flow right away. Totally make it work for you. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored that you've chosen to spend your time here and to be a part of this conversation. I want to wish you a very, very beautiful evening, and really much success to you, much love, much light, much healing, and much prosperity. Namaste.